Well, good evening, everyone. Gonna try a little test here. This might end up being a regular star party. We've got the Schmidt-Cassegrain C14 collimated, it would appear. We've got the camera on. I've found Jupiter. We're taking short images of Jupiter. I can mess around with this a little bit. I'll see if I can't zoom in a little bit on Jupiter. Maybe we'll see some moons here too. I might have to play around with the exposure a bit to see if we can't see the moons. See if we can gain it. Yeah, so we get the moons, but I lose the stripes if I do that. Well, there's the moons. I'm going to try to take some images of Jupiter and stack them up. And what I'll do is I will add them after this if this works. So let's see if that works. There are some moons. It looks like at least 3 that I can see there. There might be one in transit. So I'm going to turn the gain back down so you can see the stripes on Jupiter. But I think if I take multiple images and stack them, we'll get the moons anyway. So let's try that. We will try that, and then I'll be back. You'll see Jupiter after I stack it, and then we'll move on to the next planet. We're going to keep moving east as we try to capture some planets tonight. And we'll start with Jupiter, and then we'll move over to Saturn. All right, so we will pause. Okay. So one thing that's interesting about Jupiter, even through a modest telescope, you can see stripes. These 2 stripes are the equatorial bands on Jupiter. Pretty easy to see through a telescope. I've kind of zoomed in here. Well, like I said, not zoomed in here. Now I'm zooming in. And zooming in, you can see those bands. You can actually see some color in those bands. As I started to say before, I might be able to get more detail when I stack exposures of this. Another way to do planets is to use video and stack them. But Jupiter's pretty cool to see. If you should be able to see bands even through a very modest telescope. So here's an image of Jupiter that I captured. I got a bunch of images, but I was not able to stack them well. Didn't get very bright images. Actually got 2 bright images, and I need to get a lot more. I'll show you what Kevin Lyons got by using the video process and stacking thousands of images after this, but you can see that this was not a very good image to start with. Actually, Kevin's. So here's Kevin's image, and he used a refractor and captured thousands of images here. Now the night was a little unsteady, so he only got 1 color in his color stacking process. This was the red. So we're showing it in monochrome, but he used a refractor with a Barlow on it, so he's got a much bigger image, steadier because he's put thousands of images together to get this image. You can actually see Europa and the shadow of Europa on Jupiter, as well as some details in the clouds. So with a little practice, you can really get some really nice images of Jupiter. And this was probably an even better picture with the in full color, and I don't have the full color image to share with you, but if I do find that, I will add it on. But this is, as I said, Kevin Lyons' image of Jupiter. Did a great job with this. So now we will move on to Saturn. As we move to Saturn, I'll share that. Window. So let me open up that window. Okay, and okay. So here we have that window for the sky, and so I'm going to go over here. I'm going to type in Saturn. All right, find it. It's right next door here. And we'll slew over to it. Okay, so we move the scope to Saturn. I'll switch the switch us over to this window, and let's see what we have here. It looks like we've got a very dim Saturn on there. So with Saturn, I got an exposure of I need a 1.67. So let me change that exposure up. And we'll do a little gain. That's too much. Saturn is really pretty through a telescope. It's not so pretty with this. So if you're doing live, basically live video, it's capturing an exposure every 171 milliseconds to give us Saturn. And I've got the gain up a little bit. If I turn this down just a tad, you might actually see this like a stripe here, and you might even see a split in the bands here. It's moving around a little bit. I'll try to take some images of this. We'll stack it up and see what we get out of Saturn. So I'll image Saturn a bit. We'll come back. We might even see the moon tighten out next to it. But the second in our planetary excursion for the evening. And if I'm able to stack them up, I'll show you images of Saturn after this. Okay, I'll be back. So as we're looking at Saturn, important to know that Saturn is pretty far away. It's by the charts I have online on my program here, Saturn from us is 883.6 million miles away, or about 9.5 astronomical units. That's compared to Jupiter, which is about half that. It's 448 million miles away, or about 4.8 astronomical units. So here it is. Saturn's almost twice as far away as Jupiter from us, and because of that, it doesn't quite appear as bright. And although it is pretty bright, it is close to opposition. So it is very, very bright in the sky, very close to Jupiter today. Or actually, will be all summer, and actually they will be getting closer and closer and closer. So, all right. So hopefully we'll see a finished image of Saturn after this. We'll move. So here's my image of Saturn, and as you can see, I'm struggling again to stack this up. So a lot different than what I was doing with the deep sky stuff. Really struggling with this camera. So maybe we'll do this again, and we'll see if we can do a better job. But here's my image of Saturn. I will try to stack some more of this, but then I will show you what Kevin was able to do with video right after this. So here's Kevin Lyon's picture of Saturn, and as you can see, this is an absolutely stunning image. This was also done with his Melior refractor. It was a couple of nights before we did our star party here, and so the Saturn is very similarly posed as it was on the 21st. This was done on the 18th. Just a beautiful image. You see the Cassini split in the rings. You see a shadow of the planet on the back of the rings. You see detail on the rings and on the surface. It's just an absolutely stunning image of Saturn that Kevin was able to capture on the 18th. He says he stacked about 4,300 frames out of the 9,500 that he recorded at f/20 with a 10-inch Meade Cassegrain. So actually a little bit smaller scope than we're using. So we should be capable of doing something similar to this and with more aperture, maybe even nicer. But kudos to Kevin. Another really nice job with this image. Thanks, Kevin, for sharing it. We'll move on to the next planet which we may or may not catch. It's only going to be a couple pixels on the, it's about 2 by 2 on our sensor. So we'll try it. That's Neptune. Again, now that is about, it's about over 2.5 billion miles away. But it should be a really cool color of blue. Let's take a look, see if we can't find Neptune after Saturn. All right, be back. Okay, we are going to go to Neptune next. It's fairly close by. We will zoom on over. Yes. Oh, we're going to cross the meridian. Well, I hope we find it. Let's. I will pause you. We'll see if we get there. It might be. It's going to take a while to get all the way around, and then it may not be right on it. We're in a little narrower stream to the sky than we were when we were wide field with the f1.9. Now we're in f11. So be back shortly, and hopefully we'll be on Neptune. Okay, so we've slewed all the way around to Neptune. Didn't find it right away, so I had to focus over on this star right here. So I had to kind of search around for that star, synchronize it, and then from there I was able to make a short hop over to Neptune. And here is what we have. Let me switch to the other window. And here is Neptune. You can see, hopefully you can see that it's really blue. Very, very blue. Let me zoom in here. I'm going to way overexpose it. And it is bigger than a couple of pixels. See what I have on here. It was only going to be 2 by 2 pixels for, you know, I might have this set up for the 1.9 focal ratio, because that's definitely not just 2 pixels. I have a lot of pixels there, but definitely blue. Let me work the gain back a bit. See what happens. So that's a little better. That's actually a lot worse. Looks a little overexposed. But Neptune, clearly blue. Definitely not stellar in this area. And it's pretty damn far away. So I'm looking at an object that's 2.69 billion miles away. 28.9 astronomical units away. The furthest out of our 8 planets, yeah, and we won't talk about Pluto, but this kind of gives me hope to maybe try Pluto on another night. It's out there because I can get enough pixels on it. I might get Pluto. It's not going to look much better than this, but we got Neptune, clearly a blue planet, blue because of its. It's got a lot of methane in its atmosphere, and when it refracts light, it's very, very blue in color. So kind of cool. I don't know if you've ever seen it through a telescope. It kind of looks, I'm going to zoom it out. So that's about what it would look like through a telescope. Through my, I have a 14-inch f5, and with my 35mm eyepiece, it's a little brighter than this, but that's what you'd see. It's a pretty blue thing. It's definitely not stellar. It's definitely not very, very, real bright, brilliant, but it's a nice, pretty blue color. All right, third planet, tonight. Very small in the image that you're looking at. So here it is. Oops. Let me try that again. I'll center it, and then I will blow it up. I blew it up, so this is like 600 times. Kind of cool to see it. That's something we could do with the camera we have set up here. So there we go. Nice Neptune, number 3 on our list for this evening. Okay. I'm not going to try to image this because it's a little too far away to really get any kind of an image. So we will pause here. So we're moving over to Mars. Mars is a little low on the horizon. Mars might be a little better later in the night. Don't know how long I could stay here tonight, but I know the next couple of nights we're going to have smoke again. So I thought I could take advantage of this tonight. Tonight is Monday the 21st. Over to Mars. Did we land on it? We did not land right on it. Let me zoom out. Oh boy, we did land on it. How about that? Let me see. Let me show you Mars. I did land on it. Let me go to this. I will try to center this in the view using my controls here. So we'll center Mars. Go this way. This way. Nope, I guess I'm not going that way. I'm going this way. And this way. And we'll try, let's see. Oops. I'm manipulating windows here in the background. You're not seeing it right now, but I am manipulating it in the window. So let me move Mars over a little. Try to get it centered. That was not the way I wanted to go. Let's try this way. That's better. Nope. So Mars is a little overexposed here because I'm using the exposure I had for Neptune. Let's see, go that way? Nope, of course not. 50-50 chance. I'm going to mess it up. I'm kind of excited to look at Mars. And I think we might be able to see some detail on Mars. So let's see here. We're going to turn Mars's exposure to. I don't have a good exposure number for Mars. That's not correct. Says 8 seconds. That seems like it would be too long. Yeah. Let's put Mars at 100 milliseconds. It might be less than that. 280 milliseconds. Still too much. There we go. We have to go a little bit less than that. Microseconds. We seem to have something there. I focused earlier, so I don't know that I can get better focus than what I have. I'm kind of dealing with some. Alright, so let me put the exposure down here. About 1300 microseconds. 900 microseconds. That might be our exposure right there, about 900 microseconds. Let me change the gain a little bit. I don't know if that's helping or hurting. It's darker. But there's our planet Mars. The moons on Mars are too small to actually image with this imager and this scope. But clearly the red planet from all the iron oxide on the planet. So I showed you the distances of the other ones. This happens to be the closest planet that we're going to be able to visit this evening. About 40 million miles away. It's getting closer. It's going to get within 39 million miles in a few weeks. I think October 13th is when it's at its closest to Earth. And because of that proximity, there's actually a lot of probes heading to Mars right now. I think there are 5 probes on their way to Mars right now. But pretty interesting. So let me, I'm going to shrink it back down here. And I'll take some images. I'll see if I can't do to Mars what I did to Jupiter and Saturn. But you can clearly see there's some detail on Mars. I'll take some images, come back, and then we'll try to hop to one more planet this evening. Alright, so we recorded a few shots on Mars. We'll see. I'll try to stack them, see what we get. You can definitely see that there's some dark stuff on Mars. And that's kind of what you look for. You look for some dark stuff, and maybe potentially you can see an ice cap. And there may be a hint of something up there, right over here. We'll see if we can see anything there or not when we stack it up. But I'm going to move on to the other side. It'll be down here. You're right. Maybe not. Well, we'll see. We'll see. So here's Kevin's image of Mars. For some reason I didn't save my Mars stacking stuff, so but I have Kevin's, and you may have seen this if you're on the ASRAS email group. Kevin took an image of Mars on Sunday the 27th, and he took a stack of 13,000 frames. This is video. Stacked 9100 with a camera very similar to our ZWO camera. He has a ZWO 224 MC color with his Meade 10-inch refractor, 10-inch reflector at f20, so he used a Barlow. And he stacked it with auto stacker and then sharpened it with Registacks and then tweaked it in Paint Shop. And really did a gorgeous job. You see a tremendous amount of detail on Mars. You see this little thumb here. I forgot what that's called. That's Certus something. I'll have to figure out what that is. But he's got some really nice detail on Mars. You got thin clouds on the northern hemisphere. And then you have an ice cap on the southern hemisphere. Just a gorgeous image of Mars, which inspires me to try to get to come back and do this again with Mars and try to get some more detail with this telescope, especially with Mars being so close. So we will try that. But enjoy Kevin's image. He did a really, really sharp job with this image of Mars. Thanks, Kevin. And I want to thank you for sharing your images with us this evening. Thanks so much. We'll see. So I'm going to switch to the other window here, and we will move to Uranus. It's close by, so hopefully we land right on it. That would be fantastic if we could land right on it. So you'll see the scope slewing over there. I'll switch the window over to the capture. See what we got here. It doesn't look promising, and Uranus is very dim. So let me see if I can do a quick move around here. Well, first I'm going to see if there's any stars nearby. So there's a bright star down here. Let me see if we can go here next. We're going to go to a bright star. So this, you can see what I can do in real time here to try to calibrate the scope. So I'm going to slew over to this star and Cetus. slew down here, and hopefully it'd be great if it slid right through the field of view here, but of course it did not. So let's see if we can make it happen. Don't need all this. Do need that. Need this. So let's see what we can do. You know what? I'm going to make my exposure a little brighter. I'm looking for a star. I want something bright in here. Recording again. So it appears that, Uranus is in the trees. We went upstairs to look to see why we couldn't find the star that we were focusing on, and it's because it's in the trees. So Uranus is yet to rise. So we'll make it a quick night. We'll try Uranus another night. There's also a comet out there that we might take a look at if we start early. But those are two different ends of an observing session. The comet is sets shortly after the sun, and Uranus rises a little bit later at about 10:30 at night. But that's going to change. It'll rise a little bit earlier every night over the next few nights. So either I will release this as a star party, or I will append it. We'll see when that happens. But for now, that's it. Talk to you soon.